A Chip Off the Old Castle is the fourth episode of the first season of the Sylvester and Tweety mysteries, and I mentioned in my previous episode review that this was going to be the last one that I was watching, and if I didn't really enjoy it, I wasn't going to watch anymore, and unfortunately that is the case. This is probably the strongest of the four that I've seen, and I still found it to be really dull. There are some good moments, but in general, it's not great. And I'm not saying I will never come back to Sylvester and Tweety Mysteries. I will put it to one side. Maybe once I've finished with every other possible Looney Tunes thing out there, I might revisit it. But for now, this will be my last Sylvester and Tweety discussion for quite a while. This one takes place in Ireland, and we have the Blarney Stone, which I thought was a pretty interesting concept, and some of the accents are really questionable. Granny is there with Sylvester and Tweety, of course, and they are there to try and find out what has happened to the Blarney Stone because it has been stolen. And honestly, it's kind of ludicrous, and I don't think the episode was very well thought out. I don't think the pacing was very good. I didn't really buy into it at all. There were, as I said, a few good moments, mostly with Sylvester and Tweety doing things that were not related. For example, there's one scene, this is a small spoiler for what I consider to be one of the most entertaining parts, but also very cliche, is when Tweety dumped a bunch of potatoes on Sylvester's head. They're going to Ireland, of course, that's what they're going to do. There are, of course, other Irish stereotypes. We have a moment with the Banshee, which I thought was pretty well animated, but we also do have a lot of exaggerated stereotypes, and obviously I'm not Irish, I can't say I don't take offence at that, but I would imagine that they're not the most offensive stereotypes, but it is definitely a little cringy. It's very cringy, in fact. So that's something that I didn't find to be that delightful either. It was an interesting concept, but unfortunately, as is the case with the previous three, the execution just wasn't up to much. Sylvester and Tweety, again, take a bit of a backseat, and I just didn't find it to be very enjoyable. So for me, this is the end of my Sylvester and Tweety Mysteries journey for now. As I said, I might come back to it again. I probably will once I've exhausted all of the other Looney Tunes things. But I found that while the animation is fine, the voice acting is fine. We do have the classic voice acting, the cast, of course, some of the classics. We do have June Foray as Granny. We also have greats such as Jim Cummings and Frank Welker and Joe Alaskey. So, brilliant voice cast. The animation is good, but the stories themselves have been pretty dull, and Sylvester and Tweety have not exactly had the most interesting roles to play. This is definitely the case with this episode too. So, unfortunately, for now, I won't be watching any more Sylvester and Tweety Mysteries.